Under code names like MKUltra, the CIA spent 25 years and $25 million on secret mind control research. Secret CIA research project carried out in Montreal in which mental patients felt they were used as the CIA's guinea pigs.
The pain was so excruciating, felt like somebody was sticking me with a million pins, just everywhere. Oh, I
mean, if he was doing it and knew that what he was doing for the benefit of the CIA, then I don't agree with this at all.
The CIA's mind control program didn't stop. It just got better at hiding. MKUltra was supposed to end in 1973, but the truth is, it simply disappeared into the shadows. It changed its name, slipped into new offices, and kept working behind closed doors. What if those experiments on people's minds never really stopped at all? Tune in, because what we're about to show you will make you question the very same reality you live in. Back in 1953, they claimed it started as a response to Soviet brainwashing fears. They sold it like a Cold War countermeasure. But the real plan always ran deeper. Not just to protect, but to control. Minds, thought patterns, memories. Strip someone down to nothing and build them back up like a new house with someone else's blueprint. And they did it. They tested it. Over and over again. Poured it into drinks, slipped it into veins, watched what happened when the walls fell away. But chemicals alone weren't enough. They needed a conductor for the chaos.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD.
It sounds like a myth, a Cold War fever dream. But when you follow the trails, the files, the chemicals, the experiments, it starts to feel disturbingly real. The man in charge? Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist, a mystic, a ghost in plain sight. He didn't just run experiments. He built the stage for psychological demolition. He believed you had to wipe out the self before you could write something new on the ruins. That wasn't science. That was a quiet war. But substances were just the beginning. What if the real goal was to break the mind and then build it back up in someone else's image? They tried it all because consent wasn't part of the formula. Apparently, ethics were optional, like seatbelts in a demolition derby. They needed broken minds, not willing ones. But even a formula with no consent needs a cover story. And they said it stopped. 1973. After the whispers got too loud, after Congress started sniffing around. Paperwork burned, tapes vanished, memories buried. But not all of them. Some things refused to stay buried, especially when they still breathe, still move, still evolve.
We are not professing to tell you the complete story of these activities. We are professing to tell you the complete story that we know.
Right.
But these records that we've uncovered don't tell the story. They tell pieces of it.
But it didn't end. Not really, because when the papers burned, the plan just moved into new buildings with new names and darker tech. MKUltra is a name on an old folder, sure. But the spirit of it? It kept walking into new agencies, into black sites, into private companies wearing government badges. The goals haven't changed. Still about control. Still about knowing how far a mind can stretch before it breaks or obeys. You think this kind of knowledge just gets shelved? Sure, right next to Bigfoot's dental records and Elvis's comeback tour plans. That the government develops tools this powerful and tosses them in the trash? No, it gets refined, repurposed, rebranded. And have you looked around lately? Modern tech makes it easier than ever. What they did with syringes, they can now do with algorithms. Social media echo chambers, targeted psychological pressure, deep fakes, disinformation loops. Maybe it doesn't look like a lab anymore, but the petri dish is still there. And we're in it. Smart homes listening, ads predicting your next thought before you even think it. You think that's coincidence? Or is that the continuation of something old, dressed up as something new? The same game, just updated rules. People think mind control means hypnosis and spinning spirals. Spoiler, It doesn't involve pocket watches or evil mustaches. And that's the real trick. Not forcing change, but making you believe it was your idea all along. It's in the language of media, the pace of content, the rush of reward from likes and follows, conditioning wrapped in convenience. And we eat it up, day after day, calling it progress. We laugh at the old experiments like they were just some weird chapter of history. Nothing screams funny like weaponized schizophrenia and CIA acid trips, right? Classic knee slappers. But we never stopped being the lab rats. The cage just got nicer. And when the walls are padded with convenience, no one notices they're locked in.
It was the most secret program ever conducted by the CIA in the United States. Patients at psychiatric hospitals, prisoners in federal institutions, and even people in the public were given drugs without their awareness or consent.
Ask yourself, why do some memories feel cloudy now? Why do some moments feel manufactured, like reruns you never watched? We're drowning in content, in noise. It doesn't just distract, it molds. All those forgotten headlines, flickering screens, endless scrolling. They bend our thoughts like heat bends metal. The problem is, once you notice, you can't unsee it. You spot the patterns, the triggers, the manipulation. You start to question what was placed in your head and what you actually built on your own. That moment when you realize your deepest opinions might be sponsored content. It's a quiet horror, and the deeper you go, the more you realize how normal it's all become. Dig long enough, and the roots start to twist in directions no one dares to follow. Those early experiments with substances, hypnosis, and psychological warfare weren't born in a vacuum. There's something darker trailing behind them. After World War II, some of the minds behind Nazi human experimentation weren't punished. They were recruited. Operation Paperclip brought them into the fold, probably right next to their coffee order. One mescaline frappuccino, hold the ethics. They say everything changed in 1973. Director Richard Helms ordered a purge. Thousands of documents destroyed with a flick of command, like sins written in ash. But fire doesn't cleanse everything. It never does. In 1977, 20,000 pieces of the puzzle turned up, hidden away. Survivors, not of the program, of the cover-up. Pages filled with the raw, clinical language of control. A whisper of what once was, and maybe still is.
I went through years and years and years of severe depressions. I dream about it. All my waking hours I think about it. It's eating me up.
But here's the thing. What kind of machine do you dismantle after pouring that much power into it? You don't. You rename it. You move it. You refine the tools and digitize the cages. They say MKUltra ended, but it's the same lie told again and again, wearing a new face every decade. Whispered about in classified rooms under different project names, like Artichoke, Often, or Monarch. The names fade, the purpose stays sharp. You don't need illegal substances anymore when you have frequencies. Alexa, play Paranoia Intensifies at 7.83 Hertz. When you have electromagnetic fields, when you can use silent signals to change mood, fog a mind, induce fear or desire. Technology doesn't eliminate the old ways, it evolves them. And if you believe the chatter on the fringe, from whistleblowers and insiders who never made it out clean, they've perfected it.
It doesn't just have to be the torture that you would imagine seeing on a film. It can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be designed to break people spiritually. It's a form of coercive control to elicit fear. It is actually illegal in globally recognized law, yet it is happening all over the world.
Dr. Louis Jolyon Jolly West. The name surfaces again and again, smiling in photos, mind behind the curtain. A man who somehow managed to be close to everything strange. The Manson family, Jack Ruby, and even the infamous Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic. People whisper that West wasn't treating minds, he was testing them. Jolly West, the only psychiatrist who made side effects may include homicidal rampage, sound like a feature, not a bug. that the chaos blooming in those circles wasn't accidental, that the Manson carnage was less cult madness and more orchestrated mayhem. This isn't just history, it's the blueprint. And the ink was barely dry before they started writing the next chapter. The dots line up, but no one wants to connect them. The deeper you look, the more the world starts to unravel. Those voices warning about remote influence, about dreams implanted or stolen, about thoughts not their own, they were dismissed, laughed at, diagnosed. But what if they weren't broken? What if they were just early witnesses?
They went there thinking that they would be helped. Little knowing that Dr. Cameron's goal was to wipe out their memory.
The Cold War ended, but the war on consciousness never did. The battlefield shifted from physical to digital. Words like hypnosis and behavioral engineering stop sounding like fantasy when they're stamped in official ink. And when you find the proof, buried under layers of black ink and bureaucracy, you realize the scope was bigger than anyone could stomach. College campuses weren't safe. Neither were mental hospitals, not even small-town clinics. If you were vulnerable, you were a target. And just when you think it couldn't get darker, the next phase shows up without knocking. Digitized, optimized, and weaponized. Ask yourself why those declassified files always come out late. Why they surface decades after the damage is done. Why names are redacted. Why no one is ever held accountable. It's not about national security. It's about keeping the machine running just quietly enough. If you see the shadow, you might start looking for the hand that casts it. And the hand? It's still moving. That's the quiet scream under it all, that the tools have changed, but the will to use them never did. The ones who stared into the abyss of the human mind and decided it could be reprogrammed didn't just walk away, they dug in. And we let them, because the results were invisible. The strange behavior, the unexplained violence, the sudden turns in thought and ideology. We chalk it up to stress, to the internet, to the times. But sometimes, the chaos feels manufactured, too sharp, too sudden, like someone flipped a switch. And not even a satisfying click, more like the silent update that bricks your brain at 3 a.m. And if they could do it once, if they did it to prisoners, soldiers, students, and patients, who says they aren't doing it now? If that gave you chills, just wait. Ancient walls are covered in signs that look more like machine codes than old art. Click here to watch next. But don't say we didn't warn you.